Hey everyone, welcome to this Forge College Explainer. Today is a big day because we are finally crossing the finish line. We're going to be talking about your Capstone final, build and deliver the firedancer-validator architectural efficiency presentation. Now, if you've been following along with us in the Advanced Solana Concepts track, you know we've been deep, and I mean deep, in the trenches of the firedancer-validator architecture. We've profiled CPU usage, we've measured latency histograms, we've heavily scrutinized memory efficiency. And well, now it's time to take all of that brilliant, raw analysis you've done and actually synthesize it into a polished final deliverable. But here is the million-dollar question. How do you turn a chaotic pile of raw validator data into a persuasive, high-performance story? Because, let's be real for a second, there is literally nothing worse than spending weeks pulling these beautiful, hard-earned firedancer metrics only to just duct tape them into some messy, confusing slide deck, right? We definitely don't want your massive throughput per watt triumphs looking like a digital junk drawer. So today, we're going to treat the construction of your presentation with the exact same engineering rigor that Firedancer applies to parallel processing. So here's our assembly line for today. First, the blueprint. Second, gathering materials. Third, deck assembly. Fourth, the operating manual. Fifth, the timed test drive. And finally, the final inspection. Let's dive right in. All right, step 1, the blueprint, where we synthesize your analysis. Moving right along to step 2, gathering materials, or putting together the inputs for your assembly line. You know, just like a mechanic isn't out there forging engine parts while they're actively trying to build the car, you really shouldn't be running new Python scripts while you're trying to arrange your slides. It's just a recipe for chaos. You need to gather all the visual assets you created in the previous design lesson before you lay down a single slide. And to stay rigorously organized, you've got to set up 3 distinct working files right in their project folder. First up, your slide deck file. This is your native presentation file and eventually the PDF export. Second, your speaker notes document. And third, a submission appendix. Now that appendix is absolutely vital. It's a simple document that links your annotated evidence in quantitative tables straight to the claims you make. Keep these 3 files side by side and I promise you'll never lose track of where a specific metric came from. Okay, step 3, deck assembly. And we are imposing a strict architectural limit here. Exactly 10 to 14 slides of pure logic. Now, you might be wondering, why 10 to 14? Well, constraints breed clarity, right? If you can't explain your Firedancer efficiency findings in 14 slides, honestly, you don't need more slides, you just need a sharper thesis. Every single slide must earn its keep. You'll need to pull in those visual assets you designed earlier, the time series charts, the latency histograms, the component contributions, but remember, a chart without any context is just abstract art. Make sure every visualization is perfectly legible. Double-check your axis labels, verify your units, and ensure your sample sizes and variance indicators are right there, proudly displayed. So, this brings us to an absolutely crucial concept: claim-to-evidence mapping. This is the beating heart of your capstone right here. Basically, you cannot just make a naked claim. If you stand up and tell your audience that Firedancer dramatically reduces syscalls per transaction, well, you must map that exact claim to a specific table or figure, complete with a rock-solid citation and a one-line justification. Your audience should never, ever have to guess where your conclusion came from. And to keep everything super legible, you've got to follow this golden rule: one claim, one visual. Don't try to cram multiple primary architectural claims onto a single slide. It's kind of like trying to stuff all your spare engine parts into the glove box. I mean, sure, it's technically possible, but it's a complete disaster when you actually need to find something. If you have 2 major distinct findings about interprocess batching, give them the breathing room of 2 completely separate slides. Which brings us to step 4, the operating manual, or crafting your speaker notes. Please do not assume you can just wing it based on the bullet points on the screen. Your speaker notes are basically your highly calibrated instructions for navigating the logic of your deck. Let's look at the difference here. Bad speaker notes are just rambling, vibe-coded AI fluff that summarize a topic without actually pointing to the hard data. Good speaker notes, on the other hand, are highly structured. For every single slide, you should have a precise 30 to 90-second spoken paragraph. It needs to state the exact takeaway. It needs an explicit citation, something like as seen in figure 4 from our telemetry logs. And honestly, it should even include prompts for where you need to pause to let a massive performance metric really sink in with the audience. All right, step 5, the timed test drive. We're setting some strict constraints for your delivery. Look, I know literally nobody likes listening to their own recorded voice. I get it. But strict pacing is an absolutely phenomenal forcing function. It strips away all the fluff. Your absolute constraint for this final capstone delivery, whether you're doing a rehearsal recording or a live presentation, is 8 to 12 minutes. If you come in under 8 minutes, you probably haven't provided enough component-level interpretation of your FireDancer metrics. But if you go over 12 minutes, you're wandering into the weeds and definitely losing your audience. You've got to hit that sweet spot. To actually manage this without losing your mind, use a slide time planning template. Let's break it down. Allocate about 120 seconds to context and method to build a really solid foundation. Then, dedicate 150 seconds purely to key metrics, because let's face it, the data is the star of the show here. Spend 90 seconds on claim mapping, another 90 on component breakdown, and use a tight 45 seconds to perfectly land the conclusion. If you track your pacing against a template like this, you're going to hit that sweet spot every single time. And finally, step 6, the final inspection. This is your pre-flight checklist. Think about it. You wouldn't deploy a validator node to mainnet without running tests, right? Well, you shouldn't submit your final presentation without a rigorous verification check either. Actually, a huge part of that inspection is a claim to evidence integrity check. You really need to look at the actual effect size of your data versus your claimed significance. It is incredibly easy to get excited and overstate a performance gain. Look, if your CPU profile shows a 2% improvement in a specific parallelization boundary, call it a 2% improvement. Don't go out there claiming it revolutionizes throughput. Just be objective. Because at the end of the day, your credibility as an engineer is tied directly to the accuracy of your claims. So let's quickly run through the exact submission artifacts you're going to need to actually pass the instructor rubric and peer review. Number 1, your native slide deck and a PDF export. Number 2, your complete speaker notes document. Number 3, that one-page appendix showing the exact provenance of all your logs and charts. Number 4, the link to your 8 to 12-minute recording. And number 5, a really short, honest post-rehearsal reflection, just noting if you had to deviate from your notes. Before we wrap up, I really want to leave you with this core philosophy. It perfectly summarizes what we've been talking about today. Your final deliverable is not just a deck, it is a reproducible argument. Any instructor, any peer, or even a future employer should be able to look at your presentation, trace your conclusions all the way back to the raw FireDancer logs, and independently arrive at the exact same conclusion. That right there is the absolute gold standard of architectural analysis. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. Are your metrics ready to speak for themselves? If you follow the constraints we outlined today, they absolutely will be. Take your time, do the integrity checks, and go build something you are genuinely proud of. If you want to continue mastering advanced Web3 architectures, dive deeper into validator performance, or just explore more of our amazing programs, make sure to head over to forge.college. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today, and good luck with your final presentations.